Greetings and salutations, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Today I have an extraordinary Dogman encounter to share with you. Before we get into this encounter, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I am a commercial-free channel, so I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch links to help this channel continue to grow and go. Also, I have a second channel, which is just for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. If that's anything that you're into, follow that link, give those stories a listen, and you may just like what you hear. And with that, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with this encounter, shall we? In 1988, I was the assigned security supervisor for the Wengrath munition storage area. Although it was just on the other side of the village of Wengrath, we called it Moorbach. We were assigned to Han Air Base and not Moorbach. Moorbach isn't even a base. It's a small town just down the road on the B327. As we drove through Wengrath, I was driving the bus. Some of the guys noticed that the candle in the shrine was not lit and there was a full moon. We all knew the local legend and sort of just laughed about it. When we first came on duty, my patrols would do a sweep of their assigned sectors. As I was in the security trailer with the security controller, the radio dispatch, reading the previous shift logs, one of my foot patrol found 3 dead deer within one of the wooded areas and radioed us. When I arrived on the scene, I noticed their throats were damaged and 2 had their entrails and hindquarters eaten, along with what appeared to be their internal organs, their liver and heart. We did have wild boar in and out of the area, and these were a small barking deer species. We placed a call to the local forest mister so he could remove the deer carcass. I went back to the security control trailer to phone the base on the incident. After that, I radioed all the patrols for an area briefing at control. As the patrols rolled in, we heard a low-level but loud howl coming from the direction of our only alarmed structures to the west of our location. I radioed the foot patrol assigned to that area since they were still en route. As I did, they came running out of the darkness yelling, "Did you guys hear that?" About that time, it howled again, low, deep, long, and loud. It sounded like it was within our fence line. I called the entry control point to see if they had permitted any canine patrols in the area. They said no and also reported the howling. One of the guys said, "What if it's the werewolf?" We all kind of giggled, but then it howled again. This time from the center of the site, but this howl was unreal. It vibrated you from the inside. It's hard to describe. I called the base and updated them that we had a breach of some kind of animal. Sounded like a large dog or possibly a wild animal. They stated that the forest mister had been called and was on his way. I asked the patrols if they wanted me to turn on the area lighting. They said no. The area lighting usually made matters worse since they cast way too many shadows and ruined your night vision. As it was with the full moon, we could see pretty good. I issued night vision scopes to 2 of the patrol leaders they mounted on their M16s. I informed them that they did not have permission to lock and load. Since it was peacetime Cold War, we carried our weapons with loaded magazine, weapon on safe, and no round in the chamber. When it was about to get noisy, lock and load meant to charge your weapon, jack around in the chamber, and get ready to rock and roll, baby. I took one of the foot patrols with me, strength in numbers, and headed to the perimeter, in case I tried to circle my guys. I went by the fallen deer to show the patrol. When we got there, I noticed that the 3rd deer had also been snacked on. I immediately called all the patrols. It had come back and fed on the 3rd deer. About that time, one of the mounted patrol vehicles had made contact and was pursuing a large, dark canine. We ran in a circular route as to try to flank out whatever it was they were chasing. The entry gate radioed me saying that our canine patrol had arrived. I had them dispatched to the western fence line since that's where we're all going. The pursuing patrol radioed that it was turning towards the command trailer. Here's the funny part. Alpha Control radioed that he was locked down and wasn't opening the door till daylight. I took the foot patrol and headed to the fence line since we had 2 patrols going to control. The canine patrol was already there and I dispatched them to the alarmed structures to stand by. I did this since they were between the control and the perimeter fence. When we got to the fence, I put one of the guys near the fence line and I, with the patrol leader, headed to the small hill to overwatch his position. I asked for a status report because I could hear a lot of yelling. They said it was coming towards us. I radioed control and turned on our sector lighting. Our area was mostly open with trees on the right side. We switched off our scopes and in that instant that we had all reached to turn off our units, our guy on the fence started screaming. We turned in time to see a huge dark mass clear our 9-foot fence. It quickly faded from our perimeter lighting into the darkness. I asked for an area lighting to be turned off. I walked further up the hill and switched on my night scope. I looked in the direction it had run. Since the magnification was weak, I really didn't expect to see anything. Then I saw it. It was leaned up against a tree, looking at us on its hind legs, breathing heavy. I yelled, 2 o'clock, 200 meters. Then it turned and faded into the trees. Only one other patrol leader saw it. It was now 2:30 a.m. The forest mister arrived at the entry gate. I had to sign him in. I asked the canine unit on foot patrol the fence, but the dog had retreated to his kennel and would not come out. I put all the units back on active patrol and to remain extra vigilant. As I escorted the forest mister to the dead deer, I explained what happened. He listened carefully and seemed to be absorbing it all in. He took pictures of the deer for the records, then bagged the bodies. He said that it didn't appear to be the work of a wild boar. It had all the markings of a wolf attack. He said wolves usually don't kill their prey, they usually die from shock and blood loss. They would knock it down and start eating the hindquarters with the animal still alive. This one killed them and ate them, as evidenced by their neck injuries. I asked if they could jump a 9-foot fence. He said this one could and laughed. The guys were jazzed, to say the least. We had a group meeting around 4 a.m. I said that I needed written reports by the shift's end, 6:30, so to take turns patrolling. Alpha 2 command trailer opened his door even though it was still dark out. I remember sitting there sipping on some coffee saying, "Are they going to believe this?" He said we were all going to have to piss in a bottle. That meant urine analysis to see if we were on drugs. We laughed about that. When we got back to the armory, I was pulled aside by my flight chief and shift commander. I briefed them on what had happened. My flight chief asked me to take home the statements and proofread them first and turn them in before guard mount. When I arrived, I noticed the roster had been amended. We were all going back to Moorbach. It was very rare to have the same patrol twice, let alone the entire area. On the bus ride out, there were pretty much quiet. I stopped the bus at the altar to make sure the candle was lit and the old guy was awake. Thumbs up. The flight chief showed up at midnight and we all had a powwow. He said we had 2 choices. We could turn in the statements but omit the werewolf reference or shred the statements and have me write in the logbook that a wild animal had killed some deer in the wooded area behind the ammo building, and the forest mister had been dispatched. End of story. As we all looked at each other, he stated that our PRP would be called into question. PRP is a program that enables us to work around nuclear resource. To lose your PRP casts a dark cloud over you. Plus, you got crap details while you were being reevaluated. That took up to 45 days. We opted for the latter. Some of us chose not to talk about it, but obviously some did. It really happened. It wasn't some story to scare the Jeeps. Jeeps are FNG rookies, etc. Was it a werewolf? Was it an endangered European wolf? Was it a coincidence that the candle was out the night of the full moon? You decide. As for me, I'll say this. The above statement that I had just made is true to the best of my knowledge. Wow, guys, I hope you enjoyed this Thanksgiving Dogman encounter. It reminded me a little bit of the other Dogman encounter the military faced, where there was 5 of them and they all ran at the Americans after killing the Germans. Just very scary. I mean, these things have no fear. Armed military patrols with guns, and they'll still come at you or still do whatever they're there to do. I don't know, guys, about you, but the more I read and the more I learn, the more I don't want to go in the woods. But I will be going into those woods. Hopefully this summer, when I'm feeling a lot better, I'll be doing some possibly Dogman tracking, and I've got some maps put together where there have been sightings, and possibly make some videos of that. I know that I'm going to be doing some urban exploration with my good friend, the Disciple, half of the Cock Wranglers, and you guys will certainly enjoy those videos as well. Anyway, guys, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for all the support, and please stay kind and stay safe.